You unlock this benefit with the key of Patreon. Beyond is another dimension. A dimension of thought. A dimension of speculation. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both waffle and substance. Of things and ideas. You've just crossed into the podcast zone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Trekking Through the Twilight Zone. This is Julian and I walking our way through the entire Twilight Zone series, episode by episode, and we are going to be sort of doing some exercises, some strength training with Mr. Dingle in this latest episode. And we are joined once again by Burgess. There's a couple of people in this episode actually, but Burgess Meredith is back. Obviously, first met in an early episode in season 1. And we're also joined by Don Rickles.
Yes, indeed.
Which is kind of cool. So I was a bit taken aback by that. I was like, oh my god, that's so and so. We had to go double check, but yes, it is Don Rickles.
Well, let's just establish Don Rickles always looked like a 60-year-old man. Yes. I mean, he came out of his mother, and people were like, "How'd you get a 60-year-old man?"
Yeah, I have to admit, the reason I had to check, because he died recently. He actually died, I think, in the last sort of 4 years. He was a part of Pixar. He repeatedly sort of he was the voice of I forget now, but he was always in the Pixar series, the Toy Story films. Mm-hmm. And so I was just like, how old was he in 1962? That this guy must have been 104 when he died.
No, he was born. So he died in 2017. He was born in 1926. So I mean, he was in his 30s.
Yeah.
But I mean, partly it's that he lost his hair completely.
Yes.
Right. I mean, the hair, yeah. But he also just had that kind of rounded face. And I like Don Rickles. It's cool seeing him. But yeah, I mean, he looks so old.
Yeah. He's cool though. I like it. It's cool to see him. But this episode, this is about the eponymous Mr. Dingle, played by Burgess Meredith, the vacuum cleaner salesman who is basically a bit of a weed. He's a bit of a sort of coward. He's a bit of as Rod Serling describes him, a loser in the every way that you can possibly conceive, which is really harsh. And he gets stuck. He goes to this local bar, and at this local bar, he gets stuck in an argument between a bookie and a gambler. And looking on upon this is, I'm going to say, a pair of Martians in a single suit, and they decide to give him the power of 300 men, the strength of 300 men, and then observe to see what happens. So that's the sort of the premise. And what does he do? So what are your initial thoughts then about Mr. Dingle the Strong?
I remember this episode from watching it previously. I'm not a fan of this episode.
No, I'm not either.
There are things that I like in this episode, but I don't remember it fondly. I think it's too much a screwball comedy to really work. And you would think with Meredith and Rickles that there'd be more sort of chemistry. I think Meredith just plays a guy who is so unlikable, so uninteresting, that it doesn't help. And Rickles is just the guy who likes to punch him, basically, and all they talk about is sporting events. I mean, I don't even understand the bullying relationship here. But I will say I do like the feats of strength. I do like the comedy of I mean, obviously this two-headed Martian is ridiculous. That they're running experiments, just kind of giving, pathetic human strength to see what happens. And at the end, a couple Venusians show up and are like, we're going to give him heightened intelligence. And Serling even says, there's lots of planets around that are doing this. I do love that. I mean, I legit love that. But it's it feels like the Great Gazoo, right? I mean, it feels so bizarre.
The Great Gazoo is a really good comparison because they've made the aliens so bizarre, but not in a Lovecraftian way, not like some horror from beyond the stars. The Martians is two guys on a big wheelie thing, like something. Think like the Knights of Ni from the Monty Python and the Holy Grail, with radars on their head. And so I'm like, okay, you're going for comedy. the Venusians are a pair of kids, but then they have adult dubbed voices. But I have to admit, like, I kind of loved that. That was my favorite part of the episode. But yeah, to go back to Mr. Dingle, this whole thing, it's just this episode seems wholly unlikable, and that was the problem. He gets the strength, and then it doesn't seem to amount to much. He just goes around, does a couple of like ridiculous feats of strength, and then goes back to the bar. You know, of and basically starts smashing up the place.
Yeah, I mean, there's a version of this that's really good, but and there's I've already said there's stuff that I really like. It feels sort of off the wall and bizarre. I like those elements, but at every point in this, I am confused by something or another. And it's not that I'm confused by it being totally stupid or it being, objectionably confusing. It's just off in one way or another all the way through. So like what you're saying about Dingle just using this to go to a park and lift a woman up and then be photographed, and he goes back to the bar and smashes it up. He lifts that woman up, and I think you've been very nice to her. It seems like he's kind of romancing her, and then he horrifies her.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And then he goes back to the bar and smashes it up, and the bartender says, "Oh, I'm doing great business." But that doesn't mean he's going to be okay with all of these massive repairs. Yeah. Everything just feels a little off like that, where everything that happens leaves another thought in your head about something that doesn't get addressed.
But it doesn't even do the obvious things. That's the thing that sort of bothered me. Is the choices of demonstrations of strength. Like the bit in the park, lifting up the bench. I can't. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't feel quite right, but it feels like the kind of thing that character would do, and it looks kind of good. The picking up the statue. All right, fine. The breaking of the rocks in half. All right, seems a bit silly. Seems a bit weird as a choice.
It's very Superman.
Yeah.
Golden Age Superman, right?
Where's the thing of him bending an iron bar? Where's the thing of him sort of like turning it into like a pretzel shape, or even straightening something out, or they have him like lift a car at one point, sort of like bend it. That's kind of good. But like you say, then he goes back to the bar and he's like, the bartender's like, "No, I haven't done this well since whenever." It's basically since they seem to. He gives a date. I can't remember what it was. And then he's like, "Yeah, you trashed the place." Like he's punching holes in the wall. He's ripping the stools out of the ground, smashing the tables as shows of strength. And again, I'm like, surely like he still want to pay for all this stuff. And so again, I'm thinking like, when the crew turn up, so at one point like a cameraman turns up, and again, I didn't know if they had portable cameras in such a way in 62. Clearly they did because they filmed all this show. I was like, why don't they give him something to do? I was expecting this guy to pull out like the iron bar or some like, okay, well, we've actually brought along like, dumbbells with like 1,000 pounds written on or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I was that was my expectation. And yeah, he's still like, "No, I'm just going to sort of demolish the infrastructure of this building." It's just,
quite literally. I mean, the last feat of, see this, everything is confusing. I mean, I think the charm of these aliens in sequence, just, like not torturing this guy, but just, that it does sort of, I like that. It does sort of evoke the sort of old Greek gods, just kind of, a sort of parody of that.
Toying with people. Yeah.
Yes, and I love that, and I think part of the fun of this is seeing Burgess Meredith, of all people, lifting up a statue totally Superman style and breaking rocks, and it looks kind of crummy but still cool. I mean, and all that stuff is cool and works. But then, as you say, you go back and he's not only is he breaking up the bar, but then he throws his bully. He spins it, smashes the cigar and spins him around, and then his which I think you've been in the bar for a while now. Why are you doing this and doing this on camera? It seems, again, I have questions. And then his final feat of strength after the strength has left him is to lift the entire building, he proclaims.
Yes.
And instead he bends the support beam and his strength sort of leaves him. You're not going to lift a building from standing inside it. Buildings aren't designed to be lifted. It's going to fall apart. The owner of the bar is right there going like, have at it, bro.
Yeah.
It's so
on the phone to his insurance company, like, what are we on? Where do we stand on criminal damage? Like, I'm just curious.
What's the superhuman policy here?
Yeah. So all of that feels off. I agree. Like, you know, to the extent of I do sort of go like, usually he's unlikable, and that's part of the problem. If he was, we've said before, like in a lot of the previous episodes, in fact, it often seems like they do this. They'll even have like a perfect fit for a character, whether they be of the norm, you know, very mainstream, or as we said with 22, sort of like, you know, someone who fits because she was a stripper and that sort of thing of slightly outside of what would be acceptable norms in that time. They either nail it or they miss it by a country mile in some cases, where you're just like, no, I get what you're trying to achieve, but you've just misunderstood. This guy should be. It's the one thing that jumped into my head when thinking about this was Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
And that idea of
a loser,
Seymour, Seymour Krelkin. Yeah. I was thinking like that's the kind of thing that they were trying to go for, but like he comes across even more menacing and sort of it corrupts, like power corrupts, doesn't it? He becomes arrogant and stuff. But yeah, doesn't quite work.
No, I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, he feels smarmy. You know,
yes.
It's the smarminess that gets me. I mean, and you could see in him, you know, obviously great idea. Burgess Meredith playing the sort of, you know, loser everyman who, you know, I mean, I can also see somebody today having a problem with this episode because it's mocking somebody who's down on their luck.
Yes.
And who's timid and all of that it's punching down, as they say now. I do have one other complaint. I mean, and I like the Great Gazoo aliens, but when the Venusians give him intelligence.
Oh, yeah, I know where you're going to go. I'm agreeing.
Yes. Suddenly, he has all of this scientific knowledge. As if when your brain gets smarter, equations pop into it.
Oh, I hate that.
Equivocation of intelligence with. Right, exactly. It's the cliche of intelligence equals
knowledge.
Knowledge, yes, right, which is totally wrong. There are tons, and also so racist, so classist. There's so many smart kids who never got exposed to, you know, art, let alone physics. And so it's this sort of like, well, yeah, you failed that IQ test because that IQ test is asking you about physics equations. That would not be fair.
Well, he starts naming, like you said, he starts naming sort of like scientific theories and all this other stuff. And I'm not going. I was exactly the same. I was like, I hate this.
Yes.
I hate this cliche that increased intelligence equals more knowledge. And I'm like, no, he hasn't read the book. And even if we're now going to claim the Venusians have given him that knowledge, where the frig do they get it from? Why is they naming it after an Earth person for the theory? It should be sort of like, you know, to discuss our supervisor. You know, well, Tiller and Lem theory tells us, you know, this and this. It'd be like, what are you talking about? The Venusian, you know, quadratic equation of this, whatever. I really dislike that.
You know, absolutely 100% man. But also, why is that intelligence? If it's knowledge, why is that knowledge science? It's used for the space. It's like, you know that there are genius, you know, people in other fields, right? It's not like, you know, you have to be good at math or, I mean, it's a very limited notion of intelligence, which does not feel like, even if you can give them knowledge.
Yeah.
And then why would you apply physics to a baseball game as if that's going to get, you know, that might
help. He says probability.
Right?
Yeah, he says like the things of probability, and I'm just like, ugh. Like The thing as well is, even I know it's meant to be for a comedy effect because he's been given strength and now it's sort of like, now it's going to be intelligence. But even from an alien's point of view, they say, well, let's ramp it up to 300 times the average human. Surely that should be really dangerous, because intelligence, basically advanced IQ, actually means that your problem-solving ability and your ability to do certain things and sort of increases. That's what it's about. It's about, because you can have people that have got vast IQs but just don't have that curiosity or that drive to learn, never pick up a book. I'm sure that, there must be some. It doesn't mean that you can read any faster or that you know more. It just means that you have the ability to sort of pattern recognize and translate that information and make leaps and connections and all those sorts of things. That's the allowance of IQ. So if you're going to give someone 300% more intelligence than the average person, the worry there is they should say, like, in the Sherlock Holmes thing, they're like, well, all right, I have a massive increase in strength and now have a massive increase in intelligence.
Right.
Well, this needs an instigator.
Yes.
And, all probability says that this cannot be a natural occurrence because my muscle fibers can't sort of, I'm assuming they can't regenerate at that sort of speed. And from what I know, so I now have to say there's an outside source that's given me this information, that's given me this. So all of a sudden, I'll be like, oh, this is really dangerous, like for the aliens to be found out. And I'm just like, this is like the stupidest thing to have done.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, and I get the joke, right? Strength, brawn, then intelligence, and they could do something good with that. Yeah, but I like what you're saying. He could walk over and open a sugar packet and sort of throw it on the aliens, and you see it, sort of, oh, there's a shape there. Yeah, it's very strange.
Yeah, it does. It feels a bit like I don't know. It's that thing of like, it's about the joke, isn't it? This episode, again, is one of those comedy episodes where it's about the punchline. Because the end of it is them walking out. He's giving them the probability of how to predict a baseball game. And they're sort of like, really? Well, there you go. And so they're chums now because he can give them that information. All right, well, when that's taken away again, Don Rickles is just going to start kicking his ass again. So,
of course. Right, and we all know where this is going to go. We've just seen it. These are petty people. They're going to use this to gamble. It's going to go tits up, and he's going to be right back where he started from. And that's part of the experiment, right? I mean, we're left to think sort of these aliens are testing how superficial and dumb, humans are, that if you give them great things, they squander it. Okay, I get that point. But and the aliens sort of make that point as the Martians pass it off the baton to the Venusians.
I love
which
that.
Is kind of charming.
Tagging out. There you go. Right. Tagging out.
But I also feel like, was this really a fair test? Because not only is it one person, but he hasn't had those superpowers very long. He's had them for like a day. He goes and does it in the park. I mean, even like Spider-Man wound up, he went and wrestled for a while and was like, I'm a teenager, I'm going to get laid and get rich. And then, after a while, he's like, I grew up a little, and with great power comes great responsibility. And, maybe I should do this. Maybe it's not the fairest test to give the, the biggest loser powers for a day and say, he didn't kill cancer. I guess humans are shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a bizarre, again, like we say, like this is obviously got to be down to constrained by time, but it just feels so shorthand throughout, and it just leaves almost like if anything, it leaves a bit of a sour taste in my mouth, because I'm just like, I'm not sure what this is, where the twist in this isn't really there's no real twist. It's not funny enough to be considered good on that strength. The premise isn't really that strong. It's it makes the one thing I would say, just bringing to mind one of those episodes, one of the episodes, these comedy episodes, especially when they're like this, when they go a little bit off the wall. It reminds me of when the X-Files did this kind of thing, and sometimes those work really, really well, and sometimes they didn't. You get like I forget, Jose Chung's from Outer Space, or there's a couple of those sort of ones where you get where they're like it's really well done as a sort of a comedy episode, and then there's others where you do sort of go, this doesn't quite work in the way you think it's supposed to work. this is one of those episodes where you sort of like you think I sort of think I know what you're going for, but you were sort of quite, I've said in previous episodes like 1 or 2 degrees. This is quite a few degrees away from what I think would have worked. But yeah,
this was more like 45 degrees off.
Yes, yeah.
But even having said that, right, we've done a lot of trashing. There's stuff that I like. I mean, I like, obviously, some of the appeal is seeing Burgess Meredith with Superman powers, right? I mean, that is part of the appeal of this episode. And the silliness of the Great Gazoo sort of alien tag teaming, the idea that just like, and that there's that wonderful dialogue where the Martians are like, we've got 4 other planets to stop at. I hear one is very interesting. It's all females. And just the idea that they're just these aliens that are invisible playing with us all the time, I think is quite charming to me.
Yeah, again, like, little ideas are okay, but the general premise just, for me, misses by quite a big margin. Which, and again, I'd actually say this is up there with, of those episodes that I think don't work for me, this is up there with the gambling one from the first season. I forgot what it was called, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
Yeah, but again, I can kind of understand both of those episodes. I mean, there I have some admiration for depicting gambling. I mean, here I have not necessarily some admiration, but I have some appreciation for the idea of, this wacky comedy episode with, Burgess Meredith of all people, as a sort of loser everyman type, getting one kind of superpower after another. I mean, this should work, right?
It should.
Better than it is.
Should.
But it's not revised. The script needed more work.
Yeah, more work. Anyway, we shall wrap it up on there. We'll stop punching down on Mr. Dingle. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much as always for joining us for our trek through the Twilight Zone. We hope you enjoyed this episode at least, and our sort of commentary on it. If whether you like it or not, let us know. But ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much, and we shall talk to you on the next episode.